Hi. Um, I watched Predator's Badlands yesterday, and it was let me just my camera, and it was pretty good. I didn't think this movie had a lot of hype, sadly, but I think it's better than some of the movies that came out this year in terms of action and blockbuster wise. Not like uh, the independent projects. Like out of all the studio projects that we've had, this one was pretty good because it had a really compelling story, like an understandable plot, and it was good in the sense that it was entertaining. It had a good plot and good plot, coherent story. It was creative. This movie was creative with its introduction with the Predator lore because I don't know too much about the Yautja clan and the lore. I know some of it. I know there's like a bunch of comics and video game lore and stuff like that, but this we're just watching the movie, right? And objectively, I like the movie. There's gonna be spoils, all right. So we're just gonna start off with this. It is creative. It has a lot of cool creatures in this story that it introduces into the franchise. Uh, there's no human characters, which is cool. There's just characters that look human and somewhat act human, but aren't real human. Um, so there's none of that like soppy human story, which is good because a lot of the times human stories and dialogue seem to like be annoying as fuck. And this one does have some annoying dialogue. There is one character that is very a little annoying. I'll get to that later. But let's start off with the beginning. The beginning sequence was just a bunch of little critters on Yautja Prime, getting eaten off of a predator of it until it got killed by a Yautja driving by on a hover bike. And this Yautja gets off his bike and starts tracking something, goes into the cave, starts realizing, brother, I can sense you in this cave. Come out. I can sense you even with the cloak on, and they start fighting, and it's a good fucking sequence. It's a Yautja versus Yautja fight in the first 5 minutes of the movie. You can't get any better than that, you know. You see two different Yautjas, one big, one small, and they're duking it out, having a little dialogue, a little banter. And with this banter, you get information like, you're fighting like father. And it's like, yes, I am. And no, the big one is like saying, you're fighting with rage. And the other one's like, I'm fighting like father. And then the other one's like, well, you're not father. Which is basically a way of saying, yeah, you're not fighting right. You know, you're not fighting the way you should be fighting. You're not father, you know, you should fight your own way. He's saying, I think that's what he's trying to say in his Yautja way. And as they're fighting, you can see that the younger one, the little one, I'm not sure he's younger, but he is definitely smaller. You can see that he sometimes struggles with fighting the bigger one. And he does. He ends up getting cornered, trapped, and sent down a ravine where he has to like lose a piece of his armor and mask and climb up the ravine wall because he was about to like die. Yeah, they don't like hesitate to let you die on your own. You know, it's like, hey, you know, this was a mock battle. Even though it was a mock battle, you can die. So they end up stop fighting because the bigger one just like, yeah, there's no need to me to fight you. Basically, he's seen all he's seen. And as that's going on, they go on the ship, and the bigger one saying you should go on a hunt to prove yourself to the clan. Bring the head of one of these trophies to the clan to show honor. And they go through a little playlist of like planets with creatures in holograms, and I think they made a reference to Earth. I wasn't paying too much attention to these details. I should have. But they made a lot of reference to a bunch of planets and creatures. I just couldn't tell all of them. But they introduced the one for the story was the one called the Kalisk. It looks pretty cool in a little hologram thing, and basically it hasn't been killed by anyone in the Yautja clan. Father fears it. And it's like the hardest one, and this little Yautja guy is like, I'm taking on that one if Father fears it, because he can't blame him for needing to compensate for being small and then being seen as the weak grunt one, because as they're doing that, the clan, another person from the clan comes flying in on their ship and comes down and starts talking to Koei, the older one, and it's like, why haven't you done it yet? And Koei's like, needs to prove himself to go on a hunt, to prove himself. And the guy's like, he's the weakest in our clan. We call the weak. You should have killed them. And the guy's like, Father. And then the guy goes and traps his son, the weakest one, in this little like laser prison. And it's like shaped as a prison. And the guy's on his knees. Deck is on his knees, basically pleading a little bit, making noise and like trying to escape. The older brother grabs his blade, and the father's like, do it. Kill him. And Deck is like looking, and he's like trying to say Koei, and then Koei is like, don't be brave, brother. And he breaks him out, sends him flying into the ship, and like the father and him start duking it out, and he closes the door, and the father's fucking him up, takes off his arm, slashes him around, he's on the ground, crawling to grab the blade, but he grabs his arm and he sends his brother flying. Now he's going through the fucking atmosphere, and he hits his head, unconscious. Then he wakes up to his ship getting fucked up by a bunch of, I think, meteorites in the atmosphere of the planet, and he's crashing down. He uses the escape pod, crashes into a jungle. He's on the floor, all dazed and shit. But he has like the flashback to what happened, and he fucking screams, bro. Fucking screams. Dude was like, ah! Then he cools down and he looks at all his weapons, assessing what he has. And then we get introduced to one of the cool creatures in the story. This vein-like creature starts like slithering around from the trees, and it kills something behind his back, and he looks around and he sees nothing. Then he goes back, and a thing comes behind him and it attacks. And then there's multiple of them, and they steal some of his weapons. So he's left with like a few of his arsenal left, and he's killing it until he gets swarmed. That's when he starts running around, making them climb around the trees and stuff, and he gets them all stuck and tied up amongst the trees and themselves. and he's on the other side. And, you know, on the other side, he's walking, cleaning himself up. We get introduced to a little... This place is creative with this planet, an introduction to this creature and how hostile the environment is. Because the little cowpetter he had in his hand, that he looked like he was about to eat it. He grabbed a little cowpetter. It started to grow, like the size of this, right? And it started to inflate, and is inflating, it's making a sound. The dude tosses a little cowpetter. That thing explodes like a grenade. And Deck is like, okay. This thing explodes. Dude, it's insane. Like an exploding cowpetter. And then he gets introduced to damn, I honestly don't remember when exactly he gets introduced, but he comes across these eel-like acid spitting creatures that live by a river. And I'm just like, damn, dude, these things spit acid at you quick as fuck and small as fuck. That thing's fucking deadly. Spit acid, bro. I wouldn't want that shit. Oh, wait. We're not at that place yet. Because as he's walking around, he goes into his field with a bunch of these stock plants, the plants that just go up, right? And they have like this little like spiky looking part that's like fleshy. And if you go close, it inflates and it has these needles. And this Yautja is like walking among them and they're like hissing. They're like, shh. And then that's when you get introduced to Thea, the synthetic in the story and the trailers. Now Thea is like, hey, I can help you. Let me, help me, help you, help me, help you, And the guy's like, we hunt alone, fuck off. And then as he's going turns out there's this big bird alien above the sky throwing down rocks and shit, making those fucking plants fucking explode and shoot needles that paralyze you. And the bird is gonna eat him alive while he does nothing but being still. So he starts running and he gets struck by a few needles. What a coincidence. And the synthetic is like, if you want me to hold me, throw me that blade, throw me that weapon. And he did. When he was about to fucking go on the floor and be paralyzed, he managed to throw it close to her. Not precisely, but close enough. And she uses it. And as the bird is flying down, she fucking kills the shit out of it. And honestly, it was pretty fucking brutal. It was an off-screen kill because you're in perspective of the Yautja on the floor paralyzed. But dude, it was brutal hearing that and seeing the little second of her flying, half-bodied, killing the thing is fucking hilarious. Damn. Either way, I don't want to make this video too long, give two spoilers. But there's a lot of characters, and there's not a lot of characters. There's a few characters. But there's a lot of synthetics in the story, and I think that works well because I like the use of some of the other creatures and other things that the story had going for it. Because with Predators movies, it's usually them hunting a human, and then you get this human backstory, and yada yada. With this, you get no human backstory. You get the backstory of the Yautja. You get his emotional motivation, his background. You have these synthetics. Yes, there's a little backstory with them, but not too much detail. You just know that they work close together and they're usually a pair. But one is very emotional. The other one is very cold, calculative, and kind of aggressive in a way, and there's contrast, and you see it from the way they look and act visually, and they have a different dynamic than the other two that you see. So this story has a theme, and it's like connections, making connections, having a clan, having someone that has your back. Because this Yautja doesn't have anyone behind his back, because the only one that had his back is dead. He wasn't trying to kill him, but he was supposed to kill this Yautja. So if you really think about it, it's about this Yautja not having a clan on this planet. As he's trying to hunt this Kalisk, he meets this synthetic, tries to help him hunt this Kalisk, because she saves herself by describing herself as a tool. Basically, that's what a synthetic is, a fucking biologically... It's not biological. Synthetics are like weirdly designed robots or androids that like some have like some kind of biological function a little. Not all of them, but some of them do. From what I've seen, with that white blood shit that they have in their like system or something. But so yeah, turns out that the Kalisk is regenerative, because as he got to the part where the Yautja's hunting of the Kalisk, it regenerates, and as it regenerates from each cut and each decapitation, it just like comes back, and the Yautja's like fuck, and only when this introduction to this other synthetic comes is when you start to understand that the company Swaley Yutani wants aliens to create medications, weapons, biological ones, because with the Kalisk being regenerative, you could basically make regenerative medication for humans, right? That's profit, that's money. And with the alien, you can have technology and other things. So you have one creature that you could use the genetics for mankind and for benefit of it, and the one you have the weapons of, the invisible cloak, the ships, the laser weapons, the plasma guns, the plasma blade, all these things that the Yautja clan has, the humans can have now if they capture this Yautja as well as this Kalisk. And that's exactly what goes down. So there's two synthetics. One that is introduced to the Yautja deck as a tool is Thea, and the one that is very mission based is Tessa. So there's Thea and there's Tessa. Thea is the one that's half bodied and you basically is on a journey with the Yautja to get her body back, and the other one is on a mission to get Thea, but mainly to get the Yautja and the Kalisk is its main directive. And it almost succeeds until Thea realizes that Tessa doesn't really care about her as much as she cares about her, which is very human. But that being said, that's probably the only good thing about kind of the synthetics, because Thea is kind of annoying in the story. She's a little funny, but she's kind of annoying with all her banter. But yeah, so Tessa and the Yautja fight alongside with Thea and the Kalisk. And it turns out there was a scene where they got saved by this little creature, and then they saved the creature in return. And this little creature turns out to be the baby Kalisk. And the thing mimics the predator a lot. So as it's following the predator, it's a cute little scene where the Yautja is being mimicked by the baby Kalisk, and it's funny to see a little creature that that you don't really think of it as being intelligence. You kind of see it as a monkey, but a cute little funny monkey that just copies the Yautja's movements. It's so adorable. It's funny, and so yeah, and as they're fighting, you get to the scene where the Yautja gives the baby Kalisk back to the mom Kalisk, and I think the Kalisk dies. I don't remember if it dies. Damn, I should. Damn, I watched this movie yesterday. I had a little notepad. I wrote the names of the things. I just didn't seem to write down what was happening. But basically, Deck kills Tessa, and they go off to Yautja Prime, and they have the baby Kalisk with it because I guess the mom Kalisk died. I forgot how. But they brought Tessa's body, and the father's telling the Yautja Deck is like, "Why'd you come back? You failed." And they're fighting, and Deck kills two of the guards, or two of the other clan members that were with the father, and then he kills the father in front of his entire clan. They're at the distance. They weren't really close. And then as they're doing that, there's a little dialogue, and then another ship comes, and Deck is like, "That's my mom's ship." And it ends like that. I know I didn't give a really good summary, but I think the story was good. It had a good action. There's a lot of cool creatures that I wish they explored the planet more, but it was like an hour and 47-minute movie. There's trailers that made me wait like in half an hour of trailers, bro. Can you believe that? Can you believe how long trailers have gotten? It was like what, 5 minutes of trailers, then 10 minutes of trailers, then 15, but now we got 30 minutes of fucking trailer time. You gotta be fucking kidding me, bro. But point is, it was a good movie and introduced the Yautja and synthetic part of the universe of this franchise, because the Alien franchise has synthetics too, and I guess that was the crossover or the bridge between those two, besides the company, and seeing the Yautja clan more in detail was nice. You don't get too much Yautja lore and content like this, especially one of like the weaker perspective, because they're a brutal clan of aliens. If I seen some YouTube videos of like Yautja lore, and I'm like, damn, bro, like these Yautja clan things are insane. But that being said, I think it was a really creative movie. I like the story, the motivation of Deck wanting revenge and to prove himself to be actually worthy of being part of the clan, but being an outcast by it. Uh, I kind of didn't like Thea a little bit because she was kind of annoying throughout the movie. Always kind of like talking a lot. God, talk so much. Uh, I like the creatures. The Kalisk was a creative creature, being able to regenerate. Like Deck managed to cut off its head, and it still regenerated. They connected to each other, and they like opened its eyes again, which was like fucking kind of terrifying to see. Like, oh shit, this thing had its eyes closed, and then like what the fuck? Like, damn, like was it dead for a period of time or something? I don't get it, but it was pretty fucking intense. That part where it's like, okay, well, how are you gonna kill this shit? You freeze it, by the way, you freeze it. And I think that's how it died. I think it was frozen and then it got smashed completely. And yeah. Yeah, it got killed from the inside because it ate Tessa, which was a bad idea, and it froze her. Because Tessa found the alien technology. Tessa found Tech's ship and found all the weapons in it. And that's what it used. I remember now. But yeah, you see, this movie's pretty good. You know, I think so. I think it's worth a good watch. It wasn't a waste of money. I enjoyed it. I paid attention more to it than Superman and definitely than Fantastic Four, because in Fantastic Four, I fell asleep. I slept on that movie. Anyways, peace.